This is a video on how merchant users can import supplier price lists into the system. If you go to the purchasing menu and drop down, you'll see there is an entry. Assuming you have a senior user license, you can get in to see supplier price lists. If you click on that, it gives a list of all the supplier price lists and the current status of them, and you can double click in order to drill in. But what we're going to cover today is actually adding a new price list in for a group of products. There's a couple of ways you can potentially go around it. The more typical is that you get sent a list of products on a spreadsheet by your supplier and you can map that directly in. But what I'm going to do today is to actually extract some products from the system, change the prices, and then bring them back in. So if I go to the products menu, filter that down to a small category of products. So I'm going to go down to a series of adhesives here and then export that out to Excel. In the Excel spreadsheet, I'm going to add in a column and put in what my buy price is going to be for each of these products, and I'm going to do a very simple formula just to be able to get a sort of sample buy price in for each of those products. Once you're happy with that, if this is a spreadsheet format that you've already imported, you can close it and go straight back to the system. If not, I would recommend leaving it open so that we can actually see how to map it when we actually get back into the system. So if we switch back to Merchanter and go to the products menu, purchasing menu and supplier price lists again, and we want to do a new supplier price list. First of all, we need to fill out some header details, so we need to choose who the supplier is that we're getting items in. In this case, it's Acme Supplies. What the currency is of the prices that we're bringing in. There are two price methods. One is where the spreadsheet contains your buy prices for the products, and the other is where it contains RRP or MRP prices, and that you then get a discount percentage of those prices. This one here, as we know, I've added in a buy price column, so we're going to work this on a priced basis. It defaults to setting the price period as being from today, but I'm actually going to go and set it to run from Saturday, and you want to say how long it's actually valid for. Typically, obviously, price lists are valid for a month or a quarter, something like that. I'm just going to set this one to be for a week. We then want to give it a description, and that description is what's going to appear in that list, so it's useful to give it something that's understandable for users to be able to read quickly. So we'll give it a title that combines both who the supplier is and the range of products and the date period that it appeals to. But obviously you can type in whatever you want into that description field. Once you're happy with all of that, we click on Import Spreadsheet Prices. Now, once you come into the Import Spreadsheet Prices, we have a series of templates that you set up in order to work against the different suppliers' formats of spreadsheets. So because I've done an Acme Supplies one previously, if I click on Acme Supplies, that goes and sets all of the columns and rows that the system will be looking at within the spreadsheet to pull the correct data into the system. Like I say, if you haven't done this before for a supplier, you can click on New. That will create you a new template that you can name to be the supplier. You then bring the spreadsheet up and go and map, so you can make sure, as I've got here, the system's internal product code is in column A, so that hence it's useful to still have the spreadsheet open to be able to do it. At the point at which you want to import the spreadsheet into the system, it has to be closed. So once you've finished doing the mapping exercise, simply close the spreadsheet, and that's then ready to go. So we're happy that these are correct. You've To quickly sort of run through them, you've got the template name, which you can name whatever you want to have, where the headers are, so you're knowing what that is, critically which row within the spreadsheet the price data is actually coming from. This unknown product is a very useful function. So I've got it set on ignore mode at the moment, so therefore it will look down trying to find a match between the rows in the spreadsheet and the products that we have on the system. If it comes across a row it doesn't recognize the code or the description or any of the other fields, it will ignore it. So very useful if you want to bring in a large spreadsheet of which you only maybe sell a handful of the products on there. The alternative is you can get it to run in a prompt user mode. That will match off anything that it recognizes, but any products that it doesn't recognize, it will go through a matching process where you can map the individual line against a product that's on the system. So that's very useful where you've maybe got a range of 30 products from a supplier and they add 2 new products, and therefore it's easy to be able to map those in as they get added. We're going to run this in ignore mode today. You've then got the identification columns. By using the internal product code, I can guarantee I'm going to get a match because it's I'm using the codes that have come directly from the system. More typically, you'd be looking at something like the supplier product code and either of the barcode fields and potentially even looking at the description. The system will try and identify off the internal product code first. If it can't, it'll try the supplier product code and the barcodes, and eventually if it can't match any of those, it'll try the description. But obviously the chances of a description matching up are relatively rare, so ideally you want to be trying to do it off a code if at all possible. Last one's down the bottom here. You've got the list price, so this can be the RRP, MRP price if it is. Price there is your buy price. Price per number is can be a separate column. We're not actually mapping it on this occasion. Price per unit is useful, though this does need to match the units descriptions as in Merchanter. Minimum order quantity is useful, so this is where potentially you're getting different prices from the supplier for ordering different quantities from them. You can bring in multiple lines against one product, each for a different minimum order quantity. And then whilst the overall spreadsheet has got a valid from and valid to date, individual lines can carry their own valid to and valid from dates as well if they want. Okay, but we're just doing a relatively simple mapping exercise here. So then what we do is back at the top, we click on Browse to find that spreadsheet that we were working on. So for me, it's this top one in my Downloads folder. Once you've got the fate path expression, this is basically linking from the cloud system through to your hard drive. Come down and click on Import. That goes away, reads the spreadsheet and brings in these items here. So here are all the ones. Here's what our old buy price was, here's what the new buy price is, and it tells me about whether there are any changes on those. Once we're happy with that, we simply click Confirm Price Import. It tells me that I've added 10 supplier prices in, and I can now see that I've got a live supplier price that is running from the 22nd to the 29th. If I double click back in there, I can come back in and review these, but it means I can also come in and view the products that have been changed as well. And if I come to the products page now, for this particular product, I can come to the costs. And if I come down to the costs, I can see the live supplier price list. So this is one for Acme Suppliers I set up earlier. But if I go to the Suppliers tab, I can see the entries in, and we can see that Acme Supplies are offering the product at $21.59 today, but $25.91 for the week ahead. And so this as a timeline will roll forwards as you add price periods in. You'll be able to see a graph that moves with those particular items. So I hope you found that useful, and look forward to getting more use out of Merchanter.